I've always been struck by the overflow of sentimentality that this film evokes. It creates a feeling at first that everything is perfect and that somewhere the society is functioning normally. But even in the first scene, it starts to feel unsettling. This film touches on the lies that we tell ourselves as a society. The lie that if people could just perform their roles clearly, everyone would be much happier. This, in my opinion, is why The Bad Seed continues to find new audiences every decade. It's touching on a very real process by which people are socialized into roles every day, and that if no one's watching closely enough, these roles can produce devastating harm. It's important to add here that I don't see this introduction of a mirror as an accident. I see it as confirmation that this film is meant to be interpreted not only as a social mirror, but also as socialization as mirroring. The film spends an inordinate amount of time focusing on class-based self-awareness that often comes off as too self-aware for their characters. Monica remarks on the idea that Rhoda performs traditional femininity perfectly.
You mean blue jeans are not quite ladylike, don't you, my darling? Oh, you sweet, old-fashioned little dear.
Rhoda lives inside a value system where she takes on society's values and incentives as a personality trait. But in the absence of a true assumed moral compass, this orientation, carried to its most natural result, produces disastrous consequences. Her greed is treated as charming, and she is offered physical objects as compensation for performing her social dance perfectly. Christine laughs at Monica, saying Leroy has the mind of an 8-year-old. It's harsh, unempathetic, and demoralizing. This change in empathy and behavior based on class positioning is treated as normal throughout the film.
You wanted to win that penmanship medal very much, didn't you?
It's the only gold medal Miss Fern gives, and it was really mine. Everybody knew I wrote the best hand, and I should have had it.
Rhoda stomps away in a fit of rage. She displays antisocial behavior as a reaction to these rewards and incentives. Her dissatisfaction at not being able to perform socially and be recognized for this causes her to angle her frustration downward at the only scapegoat in her vicinity, a lower-class worker named Leroy. Rhoda has been primed already by her environment and the adults around her that Leroy is insignificant in society. He is seen as disposable, and therefore serves as a scapegoat for society's fears and tensions. We see Rhoda socially mirroring Monica's way of speaking to Leroy in a dismissive and infantilizing way. Nothing she says is overtly cruel or breaks the rules. Plausible deniability is apparent. Monica moralizes and psychologically dismantles Leroy. Rhoda mirrors the behavior of Monica, speaking down to him. The social dance continues without self-reflection. The Fern School acts as a diagnostic microcosm of Rhoda's social world. Schools in the 1950s, like the Fern School, were seen as a place for children to learn and reinforce social graces. But even Miss Fern, while admitting to Christine that her daughter performs these roles with perfected ease, she remarks that something is not quite right with Rhoda's interpretation of the moral purpose for these roles.
For the moment now, let's look at the local weather forecast for tomorrow and... I interrupt this program to... I have been asked to announce that one of the children on the annual picnic of the Fern Country Day School was accidentally drowned in the bay.
I'm interested here in how Monica functions as the self-aware voice reflecting on the system itself.
It was not Rhoda. Rhoda is too self-reliant a child. It was some timid, confused youngster afraid of its own shadow.
This is an odd way for a woman to react to the news of a child's death, which is why I believe Monica functions as the lies we tell ourselves. Resilience naturally rises to the top in all situations. Perfect social performance coupled with intelligence will ensure survival. Christine functions as the moralizing self, one that feels something isn't quite right at the fundamental level, but protects the image of society until it can no longer remain coherent. Then complicity follows when confronted with the truth. So Rhoda returns from the event unfazed. Her mother, Christine, tries to offer Rhoda consolation for this terrible harm that has occurred in her vicinity. Rhoda is functioning as a spectator here. She appears to need no consolation and rather remarks that she thought harm and death were exciting. Christine recoils because this has gone off script. The social dance has paused here for a moment, and there is a loss of moral social meaning. But let's be very clear what has happened here up to this point. Rhoda has been reinforced socially in every way possible. Monica has remarked how well Rhoda performs femininity, resourcefulness, and innocence. The school raises questions, but still reaffirms Rhoda's etiquette. The Fern School, Monica, and even Leroy place Rhoda on a social moral footing above public reproach. While the school questions Rhoda's behaviors, they allow the behavior to continue, mostly unchecked, in favor of holding up the social order. This scene is where the Fern School tries to mediate harm without admitting culpability.
Good morning, Miss Fern.
Good morning, Rhoda.
Rhoda again curtsies, but Miss Fern no longer compliments her curtsy. This is important. This is when the social dance begins to go off script momentarily. Facts and events are repeated in a mostly detached way, but with a hint of fear. Miss Fern then attempts to construct a social story that maintains the social order, not that any harm was administered by Rhoda herself. Christine then slips back into social conversation about sending flowers, even after both women have questioned around the idea that Rhoda has caused lethal harm.
Welcome, both of you.
Don't pay no attention to him. He's all for good breeding. He was trying to stop me. How are you, Mrs. Penmark? You've always had plenty. You're a superior person.
Oh, no, I'm not.
Oh, yes. Father's rich. Rich Richard Bravo. I know. Famous. Me, I worked in a beauty parlor. Miss Fern used to come there. She looks down on me.
Miss Daigle mentions good breeding, saying that Christine is a superior person, then mentions Christine's father's wealth and social position, and contrasts it with her own position as lower than Miss Fern.
May I call you Christine? Oh, I'm quite aware you come from a higher level of society. You probably made a debut, all that.
Miss Daigle stumbles around drunk, attempting to numb the irreparable harm that has been done to her. Even in grief, social class structure is maintained. This is where the class structure starts to read as tone deaf. Miss Daigle appeals to the social expectations and moral agency of the authority figures and social conscience that supposedly underlies this social dance. Miss Daigle is met with mostly pity, an attempt to sympathize and perform morality that ultimately rings hollow in the face of such irreparable harm. What has been taken and what has been offered as consolation do not suffice when examined more closely. Miss Fern reaffirms social solidarity and allows a hug from Christine, which was mysteriously absent from Miss Daigle a moment earlier when relaying the death of her son. This moment reveals a mismatch of harmonious sync. and it throws the social dance into question. A discordant note plays in front of our eyes. Christine finds the medal, and Rhoda attempts to perform the social dance again in a more over-exaggerated way. She deflects, she reframes, and avoids any direct accusations. She confuses and distracts. She performs innocence and femininity on cue, as she's been socially trained to expect praise and not scrutiny. Christine appeals to her daughter's conscience. Rhoda plays along, then explains she sees death in a more utilitarian way, suggests Claude is disposable and can be replaced at an orphanage. She attempts to mirror her mother's morality back to her, while being resistant to the idea she has been rejected for simply performing what is expected of her.
Mother, what are you going to do with the medal? It's really mine.
Rhoda returns to focusing on the physical material object. Rhoda is still affirmed by Monica and receives more gifts. Monica reflects again on the system, and she says the words the audience thinks on a surface level.
I wish she were mine. Every time I look at her, I wish I had just such a little girl.
Here, Rhoda appeals to religion, saying Leroy will go to hell for questioning her social act. She then admits that people tell lies all the time, but the lower-class Leroy tells the most lies, as he sees clearly the harm created by Rhoda and her actions. Rhoda then tells Leroy to go back to his bed of Excelsior, where he goes when he's supposed to be working. She is policing Leroy's agency as a response to him uncovering the lies in her social performance, which is mirrored by Christine trying to hide Rhoda's actions from Leroy by policing Leroy. She instructs Leroy to never speak to Rhoda again. She speaks with the authority her class has imbued upon her. The dance is starting to not work as well on Christine anymore. Rhoda reorients herself in the social mirror. Christine, her father, and Reginald Tasker talk about social environment versus genetics. This is where the true thesis of the film becomes revealed. Christine questions if a nice social environment could really produce an amoral subject. Tasker says,
But more often they present a more convincing picture of virtue than normal folk.
But that's horrible.
It's just that they are bad seeds.
Interestingly enough, even though the scene between Christine and her father reveal that in fact Christine is genetically linked to a murderous lineage, a conscious observer has to ask themselves, does a murderous gene really skip a generation? If the conclusion is that genetic lineage rather than environment is the cause of Rhoda's predicament, then why is Christine, who is from the same lineage, not affected directly? The father states she was taken from the home and raised by loving parents, which does suggest that environment plays a larger role than genetic shaping. So this leaves us to question, what about Rhoda's environment might explain her behavior? The film appears to confirm hereditary causes without addressing the obvious contradiction that her mother was raised in a murderous environment, then adopted out of it, and grew up fine, not displaying any of Rhoda's behaviors.
What are you doing?
Nothing.
Is that for the incinerator?
Yes.
Well, what is it?
It's just some things you told
Well,
me
let
to
me see
throw
what's in the
away.
package.
No!
Let me,
No!
let me see what's in the... Let me see. Let me see what's in the...
Rhoda oscillates between calm indifference and murderous rage. The rhythm is now replaced with a monstrous pattern of carnage linked to social events. Rhoda returns to the social prompting mechanism and her mother can no longer answer her in the same ways that felt so natural before. Rhoda double-checks that Christine is willing to uphold the social order and protect Rhoda's innocence rather than puncture it. Christine states,
"Oh, I won't give it to Miss Fern."
and Rhoda has a smile of acknowledgement come over her face that her mother is willing to protect the social reputation. Christine has gone from suspicious investigator to complicit and corroborative in the social lie. Rhoda's social role is reaffirmed, and she has learned here a pivotal truth, that adults are willing to protect the social lie to facilitate the system functioning smoothly. Rhoda disposes of the evidence of the social harm she has caused, and Christine sits in horror, watching the systematic way that Rhoda cleanly and efficiently removes evidence of her crimes.
You and I promised not to, but...
What was that?
It sounded like somebody shouting for help. It sounded close by.
Rhoda, who was that shouting?
Oh, I don't know, Mother.
Well, it sounded as if there were a
Oh, I
fire.
don't think so.
No, Rex, back here.
Look!
Give me that shovel. Get the horse!